Hey, I'm Cameron Cheats with Queerty. Thanks so much for the time today. This film is so lovely.
Thank you so much. You guys have already been such a supporter of it, so we're excited to talk to you. Yeah.
I mean, one of the many things I love about this film is that it's one of those movies that doesn't pretend that other movies don't exist. We're talking about other pop culture that exists in the real world in this movie, which makes it feel all that more real. Specifically, DDLJ plays such a big role in Naveen and Jay's lives and how they think of love. And so I kind of wonder for the both of you, do you have a movie like that? Is there a movie from like maybe when you were younger that shaped your understanding of what romance is? Maybe for better or for worse.
The first one that's coming to my head is Can't Hardly Wait. Do you remember the movie Can't Hardly Wait? I like got, is it Ethan Embry is the star of that movie? And I would like wear I like got his outfit, like the clothing that I became obsessed with him and obsessed. I realized later that I think I was in love with him, but I was like, wanting to be him in love with Jennifer Love Hewitt. And he like writes her this letter that he like keeps in his pocket ever since like freshman year when he watches her like take a Pop-Tart. But really for me, it's the final scene of that movie when she comes to meet him at the train station and they have this epic kiss at the end of that movie. That's like, that was middle school thinking I wanted to be Ethan Embry kissing Jennifer Love Hewitt, but then realizing later I wanted to be Jennifer Love Hewitt kissing Ethan Embry.
Yeah, of course. I love that. I'm right. That's like the ultimate idea of romance at the time. Where just like, that's what it is. That's what it's all about.
Yes.
Yeah. For me, I grew up watching Bollywood because I grew up in India. So there's a very melodramatic Bollywood love story called Kal Ho Na Ho, which the general plot is this woman falls in love with this man who's like so charming and he like fixes her life and fixes her family's life and like everything. And then at the halfway point, she realizes he's dying of a terminal disease. And then the entire second half is he is going to make sure before he dies that he gives her the love of her life. So she has another friend who's like her best friend, and he basically is like manipulating them to be together. And it's at the end of Act 2 that she finds out that everything that friend said to her was things that the guy who was dying felt for her. But ultimately she does end up with that guy. And the movie ends in a hospital in this guy's like deathbed. And it's like so dramatic.
That's your movie?
That's my movie. But I will say that
That's amazing.
And now I'm with a cancer doctor, Raj.
Right.
So there you go.
Wow.
But the other thing, honestly, the pop culture that influenced me the most is a television show called The OC. Which was huge when I was in high school. And I was in the closet in high school and I was really feared of my own personality, didn't know who I was. And someone said to me, "You're like the Indian Seth Cohen," which is the character Adam Brody plays, who was like the first cool nerd. And I was just became obsessed with that idea. And then I became obsessed with like going to the OC. So I applied to all these colleges, UC Irvine, everything. And then USC was like my last option. And then I ended up going to USC and then being disappointed that I didn't go to UC Irvine because I really wanted to be in Orange County, which I didn't realize is like very conservative and maybe not the best place. But then that led me to coming to LA, that show, in many ways. And so because I just became obsessed with California on that show, and I was obsessed with this idea that I was Seth Cohen and I had to relive his life and his footsteps. So
were you like blasting the theme song on your way?
Oh my God, blasting it all over there. And then I sounded so stupid because I showed up at USC and I was like, I really wanted to go to Orange County. And they were like, what are you saying?
Why?
And then they were like, Josh Schwartz, the creator of the show, based the show on his experience at USC and everything. And I was like, who's Josh Schwartz? Like, I didn't even watch shows knowing who the creator was. So it turns out I ended up in the world of the OC that Josh was inspired by. Yeah, so it ended up being this full circle. And then I got to work with Adam last year, which was insane. And
did you tell him about all of this? No?
I was there for a day, but I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
But another actor, Ben McKenzie, who plays Ryan on the OC, did visit USC to speak at a film class or TV class. And I went to the class, and afterwards, I'll never forget, I sat front row and I stared at him and I just was sweating and like making intense eye contact. And then I was like, it's fine. I'm not going to go up to him. It's okay. It's like, I don't need to like do anything else. I've had my experience. Then I started walking out of the classroom and then I was like, no, I want to shake his hand. So I turned back and I have hyperhidrosis. So I can get very sweaty palms when I'm nervous. I was drenched in sweat. And he was talking to like a sorority hot blonde girl. I'm sure he preferred talking to her. And I shoved her aside I just put my hand out, my sweaty hand, and I just shook it, and I saw him cringe at the sweaty hand. And I said,
he didn't cringe.
Yes, he did. He did.
No,
and then I said, I leaned in and I said, the OC changed my life. And he was like, okay. And then I was like, then I was like not getting the reactions. I kept shaking his hand and I was like, you don't understand. This is the reason I'm here. And he was like, are you happy? And I was like, yes. I like walked off. And then afterwards realized it was a horrible interaction and I shouldn't have done any of that. But anyways.
I'm glad you did it.
I'm glad I did.
Regret it if you did. Yeah.
I love talking about and learning about the way that like pop culture just like imprints on us in a way that was just like, it changed our lives, of course. Karan, I'm curious like how familiar you were with DDLJ. I understand it is a huge Bollywood film for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
I'm curious how familiar you were with it prior and why does that feel like thematically the right film for unlocking who these characters are?
Yeah, totally. I was very familiar. Everyone has watched that in India. It's actually still playing in a movie theater. It's never left. So there's one single screen movie theater that has been playing it for 25 years and people go every day. Yeah, it's such a like nostalgic thing. So I have seen it multiple times. What was so special, and that really comes from the original play, DDLJ is part of the play as well. What's so special about it is that a lot of queer Indian boys grow up watching Bollywood and they don't see same-sex love stories. So it's like this big explosive like version of love, but you never see yourself in it. And that really felt like the arc for the character too, where like the character is essentially like can't imagine this big wedding for himself. And so in a weird way, I think it's a subtle thing, but for I think a lot of queer people, it is like recontextualizing our stories in a big Bollywood way. So when we got the rights to recreate DDLJ, but with two men, it felt like something kind of iconic because it's like, oh, this is an iconic image, but we're redoing it in a way for a modern lens and making it more inclusive to a lot more queer people, I think.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I'm basically at my wrap time already. But Jonathan, I mean, I did want to ask too, I know you hadn't really been super familiar with Bollywood films before. I wondered how much homework you did and what was your like big takeaway from Bollywood?
I watched DDLJ on the plane on the way to shoot the movie to try and learn that song that I sing on the street. I guess Bollywood feels so gay to me.
Yeah.
It does.
So many
so
things.
So gay yet not. You know what I mean?
So gay yet not. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the Indian wedding in the same way. Like and there's something to me really moving about what Karan and Roshan have done with this movie. Is that like I remember at in the same way, like the sort of over the top like nature of Bollywood films is also kind of reflected in the over the top nature of an Indian wedding. And it would feel so kind of flamboyant, but then it feels incredibly emotional to see a gay couple at the center of that. And it also feels so right. It feels like, well, yeah.
I mean, of course, the way this all ends, we won't say anything more, but it's beautiful. It is this big moment, and it makes perfect sense. I would love to talk for another 5 hours, perhaps, but we have to wrap it there. Thank you both so much. Congratulations on this film. I'm such a huge fan of it, and it's so nice to meet the both of you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, very nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.